This is the Book Deal Podcast, a podcast all about inspiring and motivating writers.
Where we interview seasoned and debut authors about their own writing, from the blank page to the book deal and beyond.
We hope these stories will help you to stay positive, focused, and carve your own path forward.
I'm Madeleine Cleary.
And I'm Tina Strong.
And this is the Book Deal Podcast. The Book Deal Podcast acknowledges the traditional owners of the land and waters which it's recorded on, and pays respect to their elders past, present, and emerging. Hey, Tina.
Hi, Madeleine. How are you?
Oh, great. We were just talking about how good the weather is.
The weather is amazing. Yes.
In both Melbourne and Gold Coast. Like, that's great.
We're both looking at sunny skies. It is great, especially after a week of rain that we had up here. So
it must be very, very tough living in Queensland.
Yeah, it's hard.
I wanted to ask you, because I saw this week on your Instagram some amazing photos of you. You did a shoot and you looked gorgeous. And you also had some little friends join you as part of your shoot as well. Can you tell us about that?
I did. Okay. Yeah, well, that was super fun and something that I've been looking forward to for a couple of weeks. So that was for a like an author video. It's just called that my publisher requested. So because I'm about 6 months out now from release date of my first book in my series, so I feel like that's when everything sort of starts happening and you kind of the publicists contact you, etc. So one of the things they've asked for is an author video, and they use that to send to booksellers, mostly to when they're going around trying to sell your book into the stores. And yeah, so that was really fun because I've got lots of animals in my book, because it's based in a zoo. I just thought it'd be very appropriate to have some animals in my author video.
Absolutely. I think it's so special. No one else is going to be able to pull that out. I don't think in their author videos. It's very memorable.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, well, I actually wasn't too sure. And I did ask them first because I thought, oh, well, maybe it would be too distracting, take away from me, talking about. So it's just like introduce yourself, introduce your book. What's the what was the motivation to write the book, and why, who would enjoy reading it and why you wanted to write it, etc. So I wasn't sure if that was going to detract from it, but it was a very good excuse to play with some animals again and get my little fuzzy fix. But I also had quite a few animals. There was a snake and a Richell black cockatoo, and I even had a bat, and so a beautiful ringtail possum. So I just kept saying my spiel over and over and over while I had the animals, because, when you work with animals, anything can happen. So I just kept saying it over and over and just like, we'll just keep going. We'll let the animals do their thing. And hopefully we have something at the end so that we can use. So yes, little pom-pom. The ringtail possum was the one that we went with because she was so beautiful. Cute. And there's a beautiful ringtail possum in my book, and there's because it's middle grade and it has lots of illustrations, there's a beautiful illustration of a ringtail in there as well that looked just like her. So yeah, that was with Wild Call Wildlife. They were very amazing and helped me out for the day, so that was so fun. So hopefully I get to work with them a little bit more. But so that's author video. Will you be doing one too? Probably.
I'm not too sure at the moment, but I just wanted to say one thing though on that, Tina. If you can stand and pitch your book with a snake right next to your face, I feel like you can pitch it anywhere. Like that is next level.
Oh, it was a beautiful snake too. Yeah. But it was cool because now I've got like a whole heap of video and some photos and stuff with them all. So it was beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting. So I've had a few things come through from listeners, actually, some feedback. And so one of the questions, and these are actually people who are not necessarily writers, but they're readers, and they're really keen to what is middle grade, Tina?
Oh, okay. Middle grade, so is I guess a category for children. That is usually classified between you could call it 8 plus. So that often, so because kids, they like to read up. So they, as in the character, the main characters, they like them to be a few years older than them. They don't like to read down or even they're same. They like to read up a couple of years. So it's like 8+ is this category, and so in my books the characters are 11 and they can probably go up to 12, but once they become teenagers it's often moving into young adult then. um yeah, so there's a bit of a, yeah, if they're 13 it's kind of really bordering, and sometimes they you can see them in middle grade, but then they're sort of pushing that boundary to young adults,
There's new
because
things emerging when you're turning 12 and 13 that might not necessarily be dealt with in middle grade, but of course they might as well.
yeah, and when you're 13 you're in high school, so that is high school kids, it's a whole different thing, and 8-year olds, and reading about high school life is probably not ideal, so that's when it just sort of shifts that category. But there's always exceptions to the rule, but that is what middle grade is.
Interesting. And I've also had other people say to me, Tina's amazing. She's got 3 books coming out next year. How many words are in each book?
Yes, yes. So middle grade normally, like the sweet spot's about 40,000 words.
That's a lot.
Yeah, so it's 240 pages,
Yes.
and
Including illustrations as well in that
including
too.
illustrations.
You've got the cover there. Can
I
you show
do.
us the cover? I mean, sorry
Yes,
for
I
everyone who's
can.
listening on without video,
Oh,
but
yeah. We'll
this
try and
is.
describe it.
And when are you going to reveal it? You have to put it up on social media soon,
Yes, I
hopefully as
will very
well.
soon. I'm
Yes.
just gonna, because I have gone through it, because when it doesn't matter how many times you read your work, you'll always find something you want to change, and I've been trying not to do that, because this is, so I have got my arc. That was the other very exciting thing that's
Oh
happened
yes,
recently.
the arc. Everyone is the uncorrected proof. Oh my goodness!
Da, da, da.
All right, so shall I describe it?
Yeah, you can describe it.
Okay, so there's this beautiful sort of sign archway saying Wilder Zoo, and then underneath it says Nika and the Missing Key, and there's a gorgeous girl, and she's got brown hair and brown eyes, and she's holding, is that like a little Joey in a?
Yeah, it's a Joey kangaroo,
Oh, it's a little Joey
because
kangaroo
she
in
lives
her
in a zoo.
knapsack because she lives in a zoo. Oh my gosh, that is so beautiful, and it's this
Yeah.
gorgeous glossy, beautiful. The illustrations are stunning.
Amazing. She's done such a good job. It's a little wraparound cover as
Oh.
well. So yes, it's very exciting. It's amazing just to hold it like in my hands, and
It's a real thing.
it's a real thing.
All that
So
work and effort over years and years.
yes, very, very exciting. Very, very cool. So yeah, so that's the arc which we spoke about in our last episode. So advanced reading copy that also gets sent out to booksellers and reviewers, and also does give you that opportunity to see it in print. And if there is any inaccuracies that you need to correct. So yes,
So
exciting. So yeah, so it is quite thick. So 240 pages.
yes.
Um, and
So you've got to do 3 of those this next year.
60. Yes. Yes. So 3 together is quite a lot of words, really, isn't it?
It is. It's significant. It's massive. Well, I think it's amazing. Like you work so hard, and everyone keeps telling me they're like, "Oh, Tina sounds great, and she just must be working so hard." I'm like, "Yes, she is."
Yes, but so are you, Madeline, as are all authors, especially
Yes.
in the lead up to debut books coming out, which we
Absolutely.
both are.
Absolutely.
But that's kind of that's basically what I've in my updates for the last couple of weeks. What about you, Madeline? We need an update from you.
Yeah, so very exciting. So my publicist contacted me last week and said we're going to announce the deal in books and publishing, which is, I think, the industry rag that all sort of everyone reads, and whether you're a bookseller or an agent or a publisher, it's something that we all like to look at. Even though I signed the deal over a year ago, I think they prefer to announce it close to the publication date. So mine will be in another 8 months, just to sort of keep the hype and generate a bit more interest. Otherwise, people are going to forget if we released it a year ago. So that was really exciting. I didn't know when it was going to be released.
So, did you open your emails and see it in there, or did someone send it to you?
Well, I think one of so Nadia from the debut crew, she was the first one that found it. She found it 2 minutes after the email was sent.
She was on it.
She was, she was. I didn't actually see that comment, so I was just like looking through my emails at lunchtime, and then I just checked it and saw my face. I was like, oh, this is exciting. So yeah, I don't know. It's just like it feels quite exciting. So I had so many people reach out, and it was really lovely. So yeah, that was nice. But yeah, other than that, I've been just relaxing the last week because I handed in my edits. I'm not sure if I told you that. Did I? Is that a yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I handed that in about a week and a half ago, and felt very, very relieved doing that after doing that big sort of read through. And
You
so
need recovery time, I
you
think,
do,
don't
you
you?
do.
Because your brain's just been working overtime and it's
Absolutely.
like having a full recovery afterwards to just kind of get back on
Yes.
track with everything else that you've put off during that time and also
Yes,
give your brain a
gardening.
little bit of a break. Yeah, the garden.
Pulling out lots of weeds. That's what I've been doing, and it's been really lovely. But I don't know, Tina, and you're probably very similar. I think I find like I'm turning my brain off, but I'm also thinking of new ideas, and that's getting me really excited. So I've come up with a new idea for a new book that I really want to start. It's a really fun project, but I just can't. I'm just trying to keep that on the back burner
Ah.
because I'm worried if I embark upon that, I'm just going to get a little bit distracted.
So when you get those ideas in your mind though, are you writing them down or are you just keeping them in?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
So,
you're writing it all down so it's there for
yes.
when you're ready. Uh-huh.
So it
Yep.
popped into my brain on a train in Romania going
Okay.
through Transylvania.
Perfect.
And I just decided I'll just spend the 2 hour train journey just sitting and looking out at the beautiful Transylvanian mountains instead of like listening to music or listening to a podcast, and just to let my brain set. So I had about 2.5 hour train ride. And I reckon on hour two, my brain just became super creative. It took a while. And then, yeah, it just switched. And so then I just had the whole concept of how the novel would begin. And yeah, so I'm excited.
Were you sitting there with a pen and paper, can I ask? Just because I feel like when I sit there with a pen and paper, it's almost like it's this connection from my brain to my hand to the
Really?
paper. And that's when it starts coming, like flowing a little
Oh,
bit.
that's
Do you find that?
interesting. Is that how you get your? Oh, no, I just stare and then I quickly jot down a few weird words in my
Yeah.
phone on notes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, whatever, if you don't have pen and paper, definitely you need to just get it
Yes,
anywhere in your phone. I'm the same. I have 1,000 notes that make probably no sense, but one day I'll go back to them
it would
and
be
hopefully
good.
they will.
One day you should publish those random notes, and everyone will be like, "Look at the brilliance of the
God,
Tina Strawn."
maybe. But I think that's really important what you said. And unfortunately, we can't all be on a 2.5, hour train ride through Romania. But do you find that even just going for a walk around the block or a couple of blocks or going for a drive? I actually like going for a drive and do voicemail messages into my phone, because safety first while driving. And yeah, or just finding that bit of space and sitting where you're not distracted by other things to get those ideas flowing.
Agreed, agreed. And if
Yeah.
I'm ever stuck in a scene where I don't have a solution, even if I don't even have to go for a walk around the block, I just need to get up and make myself a cup of tea or something. And while I'm waiting for the kettle, I just pace a little bit, and then I'm like, oh, found it.
Yeah.
And often it's like, do you find in the shower as well? Because you're doing something repetitive and you can't have your phone with you or anything else. And then suddenly your brain just finds all these solutions. But the problem is you're in the shower. You can't like get out and start getting on your phone and writing things down. We need like a recorder in the shower, I think, so you can start.
Or a whiteboard.
Yeah.
Or my kids have these crayons, bath crayons, and they just draw all over the wall with it. So really, maybe you need to get yourself some of them and just draw on the wall.
It would look like the visionary of a madman or something.
Yeah.
Like all these like red scrawls of writing in the bath shower.
Yes, there's an awesome children's author called Nat Amor who also talks about getting her ideas in the shower as well.
I
Yes.
think it's
So
quite common. I reckon it's a common thing, but also I think writers are always good walkers because that's a nice way for your mind to switch off.
yeah,
It sounds
yeah.
like that's what you do.
Yeah, if it's not flowing, or sometimes just staring at the wall,
Mm.
often with your computer open because you're hoping that the ideas will somehow flow onto the into the computer. But yeah, it is just about even when you don't think anything is there and you have
Yes.
no ideas and no suggestions, it is just about even going for that walk and something triggering you, a dog or a bird or a kid or something triggers you and it just
You just have to sit
makes
with it,
the
doesn't it?
idea.
You just
Yeah.
and there's always, I think the brilliant thing about it, and you have to keep telling yourself, is I've always been able to find a solution. So even if you've
Yes.
come across a problem, you're like, I'm never going to get over this. That's not going to be
Yes.
helpful. You just have to go, no, it'll come. You just have to sit with
Yes.
it.
It's so true. But in that moment, hey, when you're like, this is I can't fix this. This is stuffed. This is terrible.
Yeah.
And but it does. And I think you do have to do it a few times to realize, no, you do always find your way out of it and you do always find a way to fix the plot issue or whatever it was that was getting you stumped. But it's so true that you say that because that even happened with my third book, the last book that I handed into my publisher. I literally pulled it all apart the week before it was due
Mm.
on my Fijian holiday.
Getting up at 3 a.m.
Great time to do it. But, and I was just like, this is an absolute mess. I'm never going to get to the end of it. And I was trying to say to myself, no, but you know, this has happened before and you can get through to the end. Um, and when you get there, you'll be like, oh, that's right. I knew that all, all
Yes.
along.
It
It's
makes
such a
so
mind
real.
game, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is. It is.
Oh.
Do you find now, after having written 3+ books, that when you're, oh, I should actually ask you, are you a plotter or a pantser?
I think I change all the time. And I started as a pantser.
Should we explain what that is to anyone that doesn't know?
Yes. Yeah.
So a
So
pantser, you right on the seat of your pants. You have no idea what's around the corner, or you might only know what's just around the corner.
yeah,
Plotter, you plot it
you're
out.
plotting. And I think there's differing levels of all of those two things. And then there's plantser, which is
Oh,
when you're in the
I've heard of
middle. But
this.
I think they're different. I think they're different. Like there's different levels and for people. But I used to pants and I wrote a whole book pantsing it. But there is a point, where you do go back and you editing, and that's all part of plotting. And I think if you don't plot first, you just have to edit more, and you end up sort of doing it anyway. And then I mean, my brain is loves a good spreadsheet, and it loves the math. It loves the math of writing. So I love StoryGrid and Save the Cat and
I
all
don't know any of
those.
these.
Oh,
Oh,
it's exciting.
we're
You
gonna have to
like
do an episode on tools, I think.
I have
Tools of the
actually
trade.
created a mush of the two. So
Really?
so it's because it is so satisfying. So there's a manuscript that I'm working on at the moment, which I'm really plotting,
Mm.
but I think it's also some people would also call it your zero draft of pantsing.
Oh.
But like I'm literally plotting in Scrivener every single chapter and then I keep checking back to make sure that I'm hitting the mathematical equations of where things technically are supposed to happen in StoryGrid and Save the Cat. And I have to say, when you plot something out and then you go and check it to this math, kind of the maths behind what makes a good story or in a good plot, and it actually hits it because you've just done it innately anyway, that is glorious for me. I love that.
Oh my gosh.
But
Who
let's do a
knew?
whole nother episode
Yeah.
on the math of writing, because yeah, some people hate that sort of thing, but I love it.
I've never heard of Save the Cat, or what was the other one?
Story grid.
StoryGrid. Never heard of it. I've heard of Scrivener, but never used it. But I've heard that you can't go back when you start with going down Scrivener. I'm old fashioned. I use Word, and
Do you?
yep. And then my editor, she gave me a spreadsheet where she kind of tracked the plot things that happened on the.
Aha.
Gave me
See?
that. I was like, oh,
Yes,
this is
that's
really
that's the math.
helpful.
Yep. That's
It was just in my head otherwise because I'm a full
yes.
pantser.
I
Like,
was going to say you're clearly a pantser then. If yeah,
no idea about structure. I just was like, "Yeah, just
yeah,
throw it
but
all in and see what happens." And now
yeah.
well, this is why I'm on my third structural edit. So
Yeah, oh, I don't know. Yeah, perhaps. Well, let's chat about story grid another
let's do
time.
that. I think that's good. And look, listeners as well, if you do want to hear about this, let us know as well on our Instagram if this is not something you want us to talk about. I mean, I'm very, very interested, but I'm curious to see if other writers are interested as well.
Would you like an episode where Tina tries to convince Madeline that the math in the writing is awesome fun?
My maths teacher would be so happy about this. She was always trying to convince me why maths was important, even though I was a very English kind of minded person. So, all right, we'll leave that for another episode. Kylie Orr is an author of dark and twisty contemporary fiction. Her debut novel, Someone Else's Child, was longlisted in the Richell Prize and published by HarperCollins in 2022. Her second novel, The 11th Floor, hit shelves in February this year, was chosen as an Apple Books must-read and Book of the Week in The Age and affiliate newspapers nationally. Last year, when I was a wide-eyed and freshly signed author, I met Kylie and found her to be wonderfully warm, kind and generous. I think you'll find the same when you listen to our discussion, as we talk competitions, agents, wins and woes, and much, much more. Kylie Orr, welcome to the Book Deal podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, and congratulations too on your amazing two novels, which I have with me here, which I have to say I absolutely loved and absolutely consumed them. So thank you.
You do have to say that because you can't sit in front of me and say they're terrible, but you can say that off camera and off recording.
Genuinely love them, everyone. So please, please do pick them up. I'm also personally so excited to have you on board because I've attended some of your events in person and I know you have some absolutely wonderful insights to share with us. But before we jump into all of the things, I just want to find out a little bit more about your writing process before you were published, because I know you were writing feature articles for 20 years for many different media outlets before you published your first novel. So for you, do you think writing a novel was the next logical step?
Gee, when you say 20 years, it makes me sound really old, doesn't it? No, it was not the next logical step. I had never intended to write a novel. I wanted to write children's books. And so I was part of a children's book writers group at the library. And so that's where my energy was concentrated. And I also had young children at the time. So I was reading lots of children's books, wondering how the hell did this rubbish get published? And of course, I can do it better than they can. Found out I can't do it better than they can. But I was writing, 800-word features for The Age and Daily Life and Essential Baby. And I actually had an editor from Pan Macmillan contact me on LinkedIn.
How does that happen, Kylie? That's amazing.
I know. It's like I liken it to being a waitress in New York who's like desperate to break into Hollywood and I mean, not New York. I don't know. Anyway, in LA, and then I don't know, they get approached and say you'd be great as the lead actor in this amazing blockbuster. Anyway, it happened like that.
Wow.
She emailed and said she'd read some of my articles and she thought I had a good voice for women's fiction. And did I have any gems lying in my bottom drawer? And I was kind of like, gosh, that's a weird email to get. Told my writers group and just kind of shrugged it off like, well, I'm not going to write a novel, so I'm just probably going to say no. And they were like, are you crazy? Nobody
Yes.
ever emails you to ask,
No.
have you got a book? Just say yes. And I was like, but I don't. They're like, make something up. So I made up two synopses. One was funny and one was someone else's child. And she said, I like the sound of the funny one, but nobody buys funny books.
I don't believe that.
Well, that was back way, way when, before COVID, and now everybody buys funny books because life is heavy. Anyway, so she said, give me the first 20,000 words of someone else's child. And I had no idea how to write a novel. So I sat down and tried to start this novel that I did not plan. And my husband, who works in IT that you just met because we had some sound difficulties at the start of this, he said to me, just start at the start. I'm like, wow, that is super unhelpful. Start at the start. I don't know where the start is. Anyway, I managed to cobble together 20,000 words, sent it to her. It went to an acquisitions meeting, which I'm sure you will explain to your listeners at some point if they don't already know, and it fell down. It fell down at acquisitions, and then I did not hear from her again ever.
Wow.
So yeah, that was a bit of a shock to the system, but then I was determined that I was going to write this novel to the end just to prove to myself that I could.
Amazing. 20,000 words, though. How do you go from 0 to 20,000?
With great difficulty, let me tell you. I banged my head on the keyboard. I started at different points and I'm like, no, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. And because I'd never written a novel, I just sort of approached it like, I'd written some short stories. So I was like, maybe each chapter can just be like a short story. And then I just connect the short stories. Doesn't work like that either. So yes, I go back and look at what I sent her and it was terrible. Any wonder it fell down at acquisitions, but I didn't know what I was doing. So,
But also incredible that she took 20,000 words to acquisitions, because I don't think I've ever heard that before. That's quite significant. So obviously you have that talent, the writing talent. You understand women's voice. What do you think that means in practice? What does women's voice mean?
I don't know. It's not a conscious thing. I mean, I am a woman and I have a voice and I have opinions, and I guess maybe it comes through in my writing. I don't know. I think when I wrote for Essential Baby, I was having children at the time and ended up with 4 of them. I mean, I didn't end up with them. I did choose to have them. It's not like they just appeared on my doorstep. But I think I just was trying to take a more honest, lighthearted approach to parenting, because I just felt like everything was telling you how you should be doing it. And I actually just wanted to tell the reality of it. And so perhaps that authenticity was attractive at the time, and maybe it just kind of filled a gap that wasn't quite there. Unfortunately, I was not able to translate that to a novel at that stage. So yeah, it is weird. And I think taking apart manuscript acquisitions, particularly for someone who's never written a novel or a debut, is highly unlikely to get up. But it was nice because she actually planted the seed in my head. Maybe I do want to write a novel. Maybe I do have something to say. And in novels, particularly domestic suspense, you can talk about much broader themes than you can in a children's book.
Do you still have that synopsis, the funny novel, sitting in your drawer?
I do. And I did, because I have at my events, I have a lot of people, actually, every single event I've done, somebody in the audience has said, would you ever write a funny book? Because you're pretty funny. And when I say that, I hate it, because then people are like, well, where's all the funny? How come she's not that funny? My family don't think I'm funny. They don't laugh at anything, but I have teenagers, so they're never going to laugh
No
at
one's
anything.
not what's going to know.
Unless they're laughing at me rather than with me. So yeah, I did pull it out and tried, but I don't know, my head it just diverts to dark themes.
Okay, so you've got this rejection from Pag Macmillan, but it's a great first step, I think, in knowing that you can go and do this. So what do you do then? What did you then sit down and go, I want to finish the novel, but then what's the next step?
I just Googled, how do you write a novel? And then I was like reading everything, doing little mini courses. I enrolled in short courses. I just tried to practice writing. And then I can't remember which order it was in. I won a scholarship to Fiona McIntosh's commercial fiction masterclass, which was amazing. Like, I cried when I got the phone call. The pandemics must have thought I was unhinged, because my dad was actually very sick at the time. He was dying of cancer, and it was very hard to invest emotional energy into writing. But I was trying to sort of do it. I also had 4 little kids. My youngest had just started school, so I was trying to use that year as a year to really sink my teeth into this idea. And so when I got the scholarship, it kind of confirmed to me that there was something in this story that was worth pursuing. And then luckily, because I won the scholarship, I didn't have to pay to go. But then when I got back, I wanted to make sure I could write the book to the end. So I paid for a mentorship with Catherine Hayman, who's an Australian author. And that was a 6-month mentorship where I had to give her 10,000 words every month. And then we'd have an hour Zoom at the end of the month. So,
incredible.
Yeah, I sort of had this tutorage that she didn't teach me how to write, but she gave me deadlines, and then we spoke about what needed to happen in that chapter, or the 10,000 words, what I needed to fix, and just exploring character and stuff. So it sort of helped me learn how to write a book to the end. And the rest was just many, many years of editing and trial and error. And yeah, it took from the seed of an idea that I sent to that Pan Macmillan editor to the time my book hit a shelf was 7 years.
7 years. And a lot of investment financially into that
Absolutely.
as well.
Which is also very hard to justify when you're not earning a massive income. I was trying to do freelance writing around it, and that was not bringing in a lot of cash.
Mm.
And thankfully, my husband was very supportive because he runs his own business that I have supported for 20 years, and I've been the main carer and, put a lot of free energy and hours into supporting his work. And he is like, well, now it's your turn. So that's nice. But,
Did you feel a bit of pressure in that then as well? So you've obviously supported him, and then he's now supporting you through that 7-year journey. Did you feel the pressure to really get the contract because
not
of that?
from him at all, but pressure from myself. Like
Yeah.
I've quite stressed and frustrated about not making much money and then having to invest money to learn this new skill, which I guess is like an apprenticeship, it's like any new job, you've got to train yourself to do it. But there's no guarantee at the end of this one. That's the difference. I mean, you could
Yes.
train for a new job and then apply for jobs and hopefully get a job. But in publishing, it doesn't work like that. So
No, it doesn't. And thankfully, it did work out for you. So
it did.
When you did type the end, though, of someone else's child, your debut novel, what do you do then? How do you approach? When do you know when it's ready, and when do you go out into the world with it?
Well, I don't think you know. I know for sure now, looking back, it's never ready after one draft. Please don't ever, ever send your manuscript out after one draft. It is not ready. So I redrafted it many times. I had some people close to me read it. So I have a sister-in-law who's a GP. So she's great. She's an avid reader, but also she gives me medical stuff.
And there's a reason for that, everybody. That's why it would be important to have a GP in this, but we won't give out
Yes.
spoilers.
Correct, in both my books, actually. And I have a friend who's a police officer. So she reads it for, police. It's not a police procedural, but, just to make sure I'm using the right titles and whatever.
Yeah,
She's
very helpful.
And then I have a cousin who is a social worker
Mhm.
and an avid reader. And so I got a few people to read it and give me feedback. And then I decided I didn't know what to do next. I'd sent it out to a few and just got radio silence. And then
To publishers or to agents initially?
to publishers initially.
Mhm.
And Fiona McIntosh helped me with one of the submissions, and I got a pretty brutal rejection that way. And I remember crying on my keyboard.
Oh,
I got
Kylie.
it on like a Friday night. My husband was away for work, and I had to take my sons to their football training. And I read the email and just was sobbing onto my keyboard. And my eldest son, who was like, I don't know, he might have been 10 at the time, he came and just kind of patted me on the back
Oh,
and said,
Kylie.
"It's all right, Mum." And he's like, "What's wrong?" I said, "They don't like my story." And he was like, "It's okay, somebody will like it."
Oh, isn't it
Sweet
so nice
child.
to have children who can go and comfort you in that
I
moment?
know.
That's very beautiful.
Yeah, so I had so many rejections, and then I entered the Richell Prize,
Hmm.
and it is called the Richell Prize. I have
Not the
double-checked
Richell,
this.
it's
Lots of
Richell.
people say Richelle, but it's named after Matt Richell and
Yes,
Hannah.
yes.
Hannah was married to Matt, and so I actually checked directly with her in a tweet. Does it rhyme with Michelle or Mitchell? Anyway, I had entered the Richell Prize the year before and got nothing with a different manuscript. And then I thought, oh, well, this one's just sitting here. Let's just send it and see what happens. Nothing happened last time. What have I
Yes.
got to lose?
And the Richell Prize, correct me if I'm wrong, it's just the first 3 chapters, isn't it? And then you've got the synopsis for the rest of the novel. Is that right?
Correct. And it's for emerging or unpublished authors.
Perfect.
So yes, I thought, oh, well, it gives me a deadline. I like deadlines. And I tried to enter different competitions just to keep my writing muscle going. And sometimes it would just be like a short story competition. So if this manuscript was driving me nuts, I would go and try to just write a short story and then enter a short story competition. And, didn't get recognition in many, many of them.
Mhm.
Got shortlisted in some. And anyway, so I sent this off to the Richell Prize, and before that, I had paid an external editor. So after I got my brutal rejection, it was originally written from 3 points of view, and I think it just wasn't working. And the brutal rejection really cut deep. But I didn't want to give up on it. And so I decided to pay an editor. I think it was $1,500 at the time. Again,
Oh, that's a
forking
lot
out
of money.
money that you
Yeah.
don't have,
Yeah.
that you're not earning.
With no guarantee at the end.
Correct. But I just didn't know what to do after that. I didn't know how to make it better. I knew it wasn't working, but I didn't know how to fix it. And so I paid this editor who was fantastic. She gave me an 11-page report.
Wow. How did you find the editor as well? Where's he
I asked around for some referrals, and this particular editor, I think she used to work for one of the big publishers, but now she's like freelance and contracts back. And she like had edited Leanne Moriarty and
Wow.
oh yeah,
What an
feel
opportunity. Mhm.
she's it. And she was fabulous and told me the 3 points of view are not working. You either need to, I mean, very delicately, she didn't say it as direct as that, but she just said you either need to develop 2 of the 3 characters more, or you need to rewrite it from this one character whose voice is strong. So I rewrote the whole thing from one point of view. It was a nightmare. I didn't even understand how, like, you know, if there's a scene and that particular character was not in that scene, how was I supposed to rewrite that scene if she's not even in the room? So yeah, it was a bit of a mind
Huge,
boggle,
massive structural change.
but a better book for it.
Mhm.
And that's what I entered into the Richell Prize, and I was longlisted. Didn't know. Like when I entered the Richell Prize the first time, I was like manifesting. I put it in my diary the day it was announced. I was
Oh.
visualizing my name on a long list. Never happened. None of it happened. And then the second time, I entered and forgot about it. And then started getting all these phone calls on this day, had all these missed calls. And I was like, what's going on? And yeah, one of my friends rang and he said, you're on the long list for the Richell Prize. And so I pulled over to the side of the road and had a cry because I knew this would be where it all changes. So yeah, that got me an agent, and that agent started pitching my work in March 2020.
An amazing time for the publishing industry. Perfectly
Honestly,
well timed, Kylie.
shocking timing. Anyway, so yes, then went on to get many more rejections and finally secured a 2-book deal with HQ Fiction, HarperCollins, in October 2020.
Amazing. What an incredible story. And so this was what, about 7, 8 years worth of
I think it was
work?
like 5 years by that time, and then it didn't hit shelves until June 2022. So like another 18
2
months
years.
later, yeah,
After
before I
going
even
through all
saw
of
the
those
book on the
different
shelf.
structural edits and editing, going through the process.
Absolutely.
But here it is.
Here it is.
So
It was
exciting.
originally called The Fundraiser, so clearly I'm
I
not
can
good at
see
titles.
that. No, yeah, someone else's child. And I know that you've always said as well that you never expected to have a pink spine, but I think
Yes,
it's a beautiful cover. It is
it's
a
a
beautiful
gorgeous
cover.
cover. Yeah.
Amazing. So I thought, given The 11th Floor, which is your latest novel, which was released in January this year,
Yeah.
this is something that all authors absolutely love to do, is pitch their novel.
Do
so
they?
I thought they absolutely love it. It's the favorite part of every interview. Now it's been about 6 or 7 months since it's been released. I'm not sure how many times you've been pitching it since then, but would you, Kylie Orr, please pitch your book, The 11th Floor, to us?
Sure, I can. It's about Gracie, who's a tired mum of a young baby, and she is not coping. Her husband encourages her to have one night in a hotel just where she can rest and rejuvenate just by herself. So he stays home with the baby. She goes to the hotel with the intention of ordering room service and, you know, sleeping in. Instead, she goes to a rooftop bar and has a cocktail and meets a man, and she ends up in his room and she can't remember how she got there. And then when she wakes and she's shocked, she decides to sneak out, but as she sneaks out, she witnesses a crime. And so reporting what she saw will jeopardize her marriage, but staying silent might cost somebody else their life. So she's in this dilemma.
Amazing. Well done. Great
Thanks.
pitch. Highly recommend everyone read this book, get a copy. It's fantastic and so interesting. Did you find the writing process of writing your second book different to someone else's child? Did you feel more confident
Look, when my first book was getting rejected, the advice I got was to move on to another book, start writing something else, which I was super offended by at the time because I felt like I was giving up on this first book. But it was good advice because it got my headspace out of that, constant rumination about why I was getting rejected and whatever. And so I had started writing the second one and tried really hard to do a better job of planning because obviously the first book was my apprenticeship book. I had no idea what I was doing. It was so messy and chaotic, and it took me ages to just figure it out. The editing process was awful. So the second book, I thought I'm going to approach this differently. I'm going to try and plan. And I did do a very, very vague plan, but ultimately it's just not how I write. And so I liken it to sort of tossing all the parts of an IKEA cabinet on the floor and trying to piece it together without instructions. And sometimes you're missing screws and it's a bit wonky. But I think with the second book, and now that I've written the third, I just trust my intuition more. So if something's not working, it doesn't stop me. I just go, yeah, well, that's not working, and we're just going to have to fix that later. And I know that editing is actually where the magic happens. So we will fix it later. And I am confident enough in myself that I can rework something now because I have written a whole book to start to end in the messiest way possible and managed to get it to a polished book at the end.
And so with your third book, have you given it out to do you still give it out to your family and friends? So you've got your friend who's the GP and friend who's a police officer, or is it now something between you and your publisher, or now with your agent?
I still give it to the GP.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if I've given this one to the police officer. I can't remember. Probably less so. And I do have a couple of midwife scenes, and I also have a sister-in-law who's a midwife.
Oh, you know everybody,
So
Kylie.
yeah, I have sent her just those chapters to double check that that's all, kosher. I do have some good contacts. I've got a friend who's a lawyer, so she has helped me with a few things as well. So it is currently with my agent.
So let's talk about your agent, actually. So this is very recent and exciting news.
It is.
So do you want to tell us about what you announced last week?
Sure. I have signed with Zeitgeist Agency with Samuel
Yay!
Bernard. Very excited. So I did have different agents for the first two books, but we went in different directions. And then I was unagented, that's hard to say, for a while and was in two minds about whether because I already have an established relationship with my publisher. And also I had nothing to offer a new agent because I got a 2-book deal under one agent, and then we parted ways, and then I really needed to write a new book to have a new agent be interested. So yes, Samuel is very enthusiastic and driven and very insightful with his edits. So I'm actually just it's not in front of me. I'm in final sort of editing stage before I give it to him, but this is kind of how I print, like I literally print out.
So for those just listening online, Kylie's just held up a massive printed out manuscript that's been nicely bound as well.
Yeah.
Look at all, and it's covered in lots of markings.
I do manual edits because when I'm trying to keep the whole book in my head, I find it really hard to do that online, like in Word or whatever. So if I can read the whole thing as one, that means I remember that, oh, I already mentioned that in chapter 2. Now I've mentioned it again in chapter 11. I need to get rid of that. Whereas when you're just editing in little bits and pieces, sometimes you can't hold it all in your head. So I do have the final printed out copy that I'm doing manual edits, and then I will fix it in Word and send it to Samuel next week. And then hopefully we'll start, sending it to my publisher.
I'm interested to know, so obviously you landed on the side of, yep, you wanted to be an agent and author. How did you come to that decision? Because it's always a tricky one, a balance, I think, particularly for those starting out in the industry. The question is, do you apply to agents first, or do you go directly to publishers? Because I know in the Australian industry, you don't have to have an agent to approach publishers. What do you think? What's your advice, Kylie?
Look, I think for me, I had tried prior to getting my first agent, I'd approached publishers and was getting nowhere. So then, but also it's a tricky balance because our industry is quite small here. So if I approach all the big publishers and some of the little ones and they all say no, and then I go to an agent, you've left the agent not very many options to pitch
Yes,
your work.
that's a
But
good insight.
people change, people move on from jobs, and ultimately it's the person reading it who has to fall in love with it, and those people do move on and switch between publishers and go into other jobs. So it's not that it's forever, like
Hmm.
you've done your dash, but um, I think to me an agent just has insights, established relationships. I mean, you can do all this yourself. That's totally, an option, but you have to wait for a publisher to open their submissions. Then you have to kind of research what they're looking for. You've really got to cater your pitch like you're writing a resume for a job. You can't just send a blanket. You want to cater it, and each publisher will ask for something different. They might ask for the first 10,000 words. They might ask for the first 3 chapters. They might, you have to do a query letter, all those things that we spend hours and hours on if you actually are serious about getting your work published. And I had done all of that, but it wasn't working. And so an agent to me just has an inroads. And obviously, they also know which editor likes this kind of genre, this style. I think this will be a great fit for so and so. We don't know that as writers, especially as aspiring writers.
Yes,
Um, so to me, and also pay a fee, like they take 15%, but they also do a lot of free work at the start. They're reading a lot of manuscripts there. And to me, 15% of something is better than no percent of nothing. So
that's right.
I think, I mean, an agent is like a publisher. You've got to find the right fit. And I think Samuel is a good fit for me because he understands the way I work. I like clear communication. I'm not great with lack of transparency. Like I would much rather have the information, even if it's bad, and then just work with that than try and have someone sort of, you know, keep me a little bit in the dark because they don't want to upset me. I just want to know, just tell me, like if something's not working or whatever. Um, so in the end, and also he has worked very hard to, try and build a relationship with me, a professional relationship, because he has done a lot of work in the background. Like, do you want me to pitch you for this festival? And I wasn't even represented by him at the time. So he was
Wow,
already showing
amazing.
me that he was championing me and my work. So that to me was enough to say, yeah. And also he's fairly new to the agency, which means he's hungry. Like he wants to build his list. He's passionate and he knows he's got the guidance of experienced agents. And yeah, it seemed like a no-brainer, but it took me 6 months to decide that.
Well, I think it's really exciting, Kylie, and I can't wait to find out. Are you allowed to tell us a little bit about your third book, or is that under wraps at the
Yeah, I
moment?
can tell you. I mean, I haven't sorted out the elevator pitch. I'll tell you what inspired it. It's about
Yes.
coercive control, which I know is a pretty hefty topic, but all of my books have fairly hefty topics in them. Um, I saw that there was a domestic violence service in Ringwood, which is the southeastern suburbs of Melbourne. And I know there's many of these spotted around, but they were doing a training program for hairdressers and beauticians in spotting the signs of coercive control and domestic violence, not as a way to tell hairdressers and beauticians how to intervene, but as a source to refer resources. And I just thought that was such good thinking outside the box. I mean,
Mm,
domestic violence is such a massive issue, women's safety, and what we're learning, especially from Jess Hill, See What You Made Me Do, um, is it all starts back at coercive control. So I was just so intrigued by the idea of, you know, an intelligent, you know, educated woman falling for a charming man and then getting stuck in this situation that is just sort of, quietly undermining her and then feeling in a way like she couldn't get out. And I think that if you write it in fiction, to me, the hope is that somebody will read it and recognize themselves in it because there's a lot of data out there. There's a lot of research on coercive control, but it's very heavy stuff to read through. I feel like if you put it in a fictional story, sometimes you can get a different message through to people and it might connect in a different way. So I have Val, who's a hairdresser, and then I have Isla, who's a British backpacker who's come to Australia for an adventure doesn't plan to fall in love with someone, but does. And he moves her to the island where Val is a hairdresser, and Val starts to spot some things and intervenes probably in a way that she shouldn't.
Oh, Kylie, that sounds like an incredible book. And it's a story I think that has to be told. I mean, I think this is more common in our society than we know and realize.
Absolutely.
And often it's as well, it's hard to identify those red flags for women who are in those situations too, in those relationships.
Yeah, and I've interviewed a lot of women because I'm really interested in that initial sort of slide. Like nobody starts a relationship with someone, insulting them or
No.
physically hurting them and stays in it. Like, they really love bomb them and woo them in. And so that's the part that really intrigued me. I mean, it does go to pretty dark places, but I always leave my reader with hope. I want them to finish the book and feel like everybody who needs to be okay is okay.
And I would say that is very similar to your first two books. The themes, when you read the blurb, they seem heavy, but there is always that beautiful moment of hope, which I think is really lovely and
Oh,
important.
thank you. Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to reading your third book. It sounds fantastic. Just on something different, because I know you have an amazing profile online and you connect with so many people, and obviously you've got lots of friends and people who do different things, but you also connect online with a whole community there. Do you want to talk a little bit about because you use Instagram primarily, I know, as your author social media profile. But how did you build your following, and do you think it's important for authors to have it?
Look, I think I know plenty of authors who are highly successful without social media. I think if you write a good book, that's probably the most important thing. I guess if you have hundreds of thousands of followers and you write a book, that might be very appealing to a publisher, but most of us don't have that many followers. I started on Instagram when my children's books came out, so I did end up having 4 children's books published, and was quite uncomfortable about it. My husband, as I mentioned before, is in IT and absolutely hates social media. He doesn't like Mark Zuckerberg. He just, and if I ever complain to him about social media, he just looks at me like, yeah, because it's crap. Like, don't be on it. But I feel like it's hard not to be on it. And I feel like Instagram has been amazing for me in connecting me to the book community. So who knows if it helps with sales, but that's kind of not really why I'm on there. I feel like I've met beautiful bookstagrammers, I've met other authors, I've met librarians, booksellers, like bookish people. And it's so nice, particularly when you're a new author and you turn up to an event and you're a bit nervous and there's somebody in that audience that you recognize from Instagram or whatever. That is really nice. Excuse me. I'm not getting emotional. I just lost my voice.
You can get emotional about that. That's fine, Kylie.
So yeah, it's been a slow build. I mean, I've been on there for a few years and, I'm not breaking any records. And, it's tricky to find the balance because I try not to, like, I want it to be all round and I want it to be authentic and honest, which is who I am, but also has got me into trouble before. And also I'm trying to respect my kids' privacy and, they're teenagers, so they don't really want to be, like, they don't even post on there.
Do they follow you though?
I think so. I mean, I put up you probably saw it, I put up a dance video.
Oh yes, I saw that. That was fantastic. Your humor definitely shines through on your Instagram. For everyone listening,
That's good.
Go check it out.
Thank you. I mean, I think
You've got great
hard.
dance moves, Kylie.
Seriously,
I'm jealous.
But my 13-year-old daughter said to me, "Oh my God, don't post that, Mum. My friends follow you, and that's going to be so embarrassing." And for a moment, I was like, "Oh, like I don't want this to come off badly for her. Like I don't want to post that and then have her friends go, oh my God, your mum's so embarrassing." But in the end, I was like, you know what? 13-year-olds are not my bloody audience.
No,
and they can just unfollow me if they don't like it. And I said to her, only you think your own parent is embarrassing. Like growing up, I had friends who I thought their dads were hilarious, but they were horrified by their dads, but I didn't think that. I could see their dad might be embarrassing to them, but they weren't embarrassing to me as the friend. And so in the end, I was like, screw this. I would actually rather show her, this is who I am unapologetically. I'm just putting a bit of fun out there. I'm not claiming to be some kind of dance star. I'm just showing them a little bit of insight into my life, which is sometimes at breakfast, I dance, and my kids roll their eyes and go, here she goes again. And whatever. Like, I think we overanalyze it too much, and people worry about the algorithms and all that. I know nothing about that. I don't care. I tried TikTok. I was terrible. I didn't do any dancing over there.
I haven't ventured into TikTok either. I think that's a whole
I
new
use
world.
it. I use it to actually, I almost use it like Google now, like, which is probably bad. But, I search different things on there, but I've stopped posting. And my publisher actually said to me in the nicest possible way, you don't need to be on TikTok. We've got young people for that. I was like, are you telling me I'm too old? They're like, no, no, no. But if you're not enjoying it, don't be on it. Like, and I was like, yeah, I'm not enjoying it. I'm getting off. And so that's what they were trying to say. And I think good advice I've heard is to just pick one that you like. I don't love Facebook. I don't really understand Facebook. I don't do the cross posting because, what I've learned is that each platform has a very different kind of feel. And so sometimes I will take content from Instagram and adjust it for Facebook, but I see people who cross promote and I think you're missing something there. You're not actually catering this to your audience, which obviously takes time, and maybe specialists in social media say that's stupid, don't do that. But to me, it's almost like, again, catering your pitch. Like,
Yeah.
talk to your audience, and also you don't want to just be selling stuff all the time. Hey, I wrote a book. Did you hear I wrote a book? Look at the book. Here's the book. See? And when it's coming out, it feels very much like that. You just have to ride the buzz and hope that people will stay with you. But I try to sort of diversify it a little bit.
What do you think is the time period you're allowed when your book comes out to say, hey, I've written a book?
Couple of weeks, maybe.
I reckon a couple of weeks too.
I had a very intensive event schedule that I had.
Yes, I want to talk about that too, actually. Yes, your event schedule. But yes, do continue.
And so I had a lot of content I could post, and I was like, God, are people getting sick of this? And I was wearing yellow to match with my book cover. So sometimes I used that as an edge, or I tried to maybe profile someone who came to one of my events, because that's kind of the interesting connection part that I like. But even myself, who now understands that your book probably gets a month of attention, and then the next round of books come through. So you do have a very small window to promote your book. I mean, obviously you can still peter off and promote it, but I get sick of seeing other people's stuff after about a week or two. I'm like, yeah, you wrote a book. Got it. Like, great. It's an amazing achievement. Congratulations. And get excited and soak in all those moments where it's on the shelf and stuff. But if you keep hammering people over the head with it.
And in the end, the people who are following you, they've probably already bought the book,
That's
or
right.
they've read it, or they've engaged with you. I think I heard some really good advice not to use social media as an author to sell your books. It's there as a way for you to connect with the industry and be part of the industry. And I think if you approach it as a way for you to sell your books, it's probably not going to work out the way you want. Unless, of course, you've got a massive profile, like that's different, perhaps in the nonfiction
and
space.
I'm sure there are people who, have strategies about converting, these things to sales, but that is not me. And also, it's not my job. Like, it's not, my job is to write a good book.
That's
and
right.
Connect with my readers.
And not be consumed by Instagram, because it can be all consuming as well.
Absolutely. And I do think it changes the way you think. When I first got on it, I'd be walking somewhere and I'd think, oh, that might be a good photo for Instagram. And I'm like, who have I turned into now? Like, is this who I am?
You start drafting the captions in your head.
Yeah. So I do think it does mess with your brain a little bit. So I try to balance it out. But yeah.
Yes, no, it's a good thing. So actually on your events, because I did notice you had an amazing schedule following the publication of the 11th Floor. How did that come to a head? Did you go and organize some of those events yourself? And tell us about some of the reception, I suppose, that you received in those events too.
Yeah, okay. I love events. I love meeting readers.
Are you an extrovert?
I think so.
I think you are.
I used to be. I think COVID changed things for me. Like, I used to be someone who would go through our calendar, and go, oh, we've got a spare weekend. Who can we have over? And my husband is quite introverted but loves cooking. So it was a great way he would cook, and it gave him something to talk about. And then I would do all the, entertaining. But through COVID, I think I just got really lazy. And now I look at my calendar and hope for a free weekend. And I don't fill it with social things. But I think the events, I love them, but they're exhausting. And also, you have to be on. Like, you can't go to an event and be feeling a bit flat or a bit tired, because it's like your one, opportunity to connect with that group of readers. And not that I'm not a professional speaker. But I feel confident speaking about my books. But I've built that over time, of course. So it was very nerve-wracking at the start. I'm happy to chat to someone Q&A, but then a couple of the libraries were like, "Oh, we don't have anyone who can do a Q&A. Can you just do a presentation?" I was like, "What?"
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, I've had to build my confidence over time. But in terms of organizing it, that is a very individual per author thing, that whatever situation they've got going on with their publisher. What I learned from the first book is you really have to capitalize on that first kind of 2 weeks to a month when the book comes out. And I didn't realize that. And there was a few things organized, but I didn't really understand whose job it was to organize them. And I was so scared of stepping on toes. Like, am I allowed to ask the publisher that? Do I ask my agent that? And, the vibe I kind of got was, we don't have a lot of time to do this. Like, if you want to do it, you're welcome to contact whoever. But then I was like, how do I do that? Do I just send an email to a
Yes.
librarian?
I think that's what we're all asking in our current debut crew. How do we do this?
I think you can. I think you just introduce yourself, but if you can, do it before the book comes out. Like, so for the second book, usually you get assigned a publicist, but they're so run off their feet. You're not their only author. So, they might reach out to a few different places that they have established relationships with. And, I was, for my second book, I think I pushed a little bit harder, felt a bit more confident about asking for things. And so I did. They were great at organizing quite a few more events than the first time round. But I also knew from the first time, about 6 months out from when I started contacting, but I'd built relationships from the first book. But the problem with the first book was when it came out, and then I realized, oh, hang on, how do people get these events? What am I supposed to do? It was already 3, 4, 5 months after the book had come out. And sometimes booksellers are not that interested because it's too far from release date. And then they've got all these other books coming out. Or librarians might say, yeah, we're happy for you to come, but we can't get a bookseller to come. Or, so you might have to bring your own stock. So I just had to sort of feel my way. But I established enough relationships with like local libraries, and that I was able to contact them again and say, hey, remember me? My second book's coming out. How would you feel about me doing? And so I did really pack them in at the start, and I like nearly lost my voice by the end because I was talking so much. So I think it's a balance, but I think most debut authors will find that they have to arrange their own events.
That's good
So
advice.
don't be frightened to contact, librarians love authors generally if you're nice and polite and you help them fill their calendar. I probably do more libraries than any kind of bookseller events. And also I love libraries, and I love the idea that books are accessible to people in whatever form, because books are expensive and not everybody can afford them. And so I would much rather reach a reader who gets to borrow my book than not reach them at all. And I have done events in tiny regional towns where 5 people have turned up, and I've thought, gosh, was this like worth it? I've paid petrol, I'm paying my accommodation, like mostly the publisher doesn't have the budget to do all that. So you are investing again. But, I went to one, it was in Kerrang in Victoria. And, it was lovely. I love meeting people. They even asked me to go to the aged care facility, say hello
Really?
to the people
Oh,
there.
I
So I
love
did.
that.
Anyway, but you kind of get home and think, God, I've actually invested all this money. I wonder, I would like, there's sort of no way to make a data link between how many sales spurred from that event. And that's kind of not why you do it. You're building your brand, or just hoping to have a repeat reader, I guess. Anyway, when my second book came out, I had a woman contact me who'd come to the Kerrang event and said, I'm not sure if you remember me, but I came to Kerrang, and as soon as I saw that your second book was out, I bought it, loved it, just wanted to let you know. I mean, gosh.
How
That's
amazing
why
when
you
you
do
get
it.
that. That is. So
Yeah.
if you hadn't have gone to that event with those
Yeah.
5 people, you would never have received that. And that's a really heartwarming email to
Of
receive.
course. I mean, God, it's so nice to hear from readers when they're not correcting your grammar or whatever. But stuff like that is, I mean, that's enough for me to go, yeah, it's worthwhile. And then I did one in Mornington, and one of the women who attended enjoyed it so much that she ended up contacting me when the second book came out and said, would you come and run a workshop for our writers group? And I'd never run a workshop before, so I had to kind of teach myself how to do that. And that went amazingly well. And now I've got a workshop that I've written that hopefully I can, offer to other organizations. So I think you
Fantastic.
need to not look at it as only 5 people turned up. You need to look at it and not also look at it as, wow, look at the opportunities that might come out of it, but just connecting with people. That's the nice bit.
That's wonderful. And you went down to Tassie as well, didn't you?
I did. I did a few events with Jo Dixon, who's from
Oh,
the same
fantastic.
publisher as me,
Mhm.
and I love Jo, and we had fun, and we did a road trip, and yes, and then she came to Melbourne, and I organised a few events for us together there, and that's also great for libraries because they get 2 for 1.
Exactly. And they would just be so, I would imagine, being really grateful that you guys have come out to some of those regional areas. They probably don't see that many authors coming to see to them.
Absolutely. And also when there's 2 of you, it's great because you can just bounce off each other. So
Oh,
you can
for
do a
sure.
Q&A. No librarian has to necessarily do extra work to be involved, so it's kind of a traveling roadshow that's, here's something we prepared earlier.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Well, I'm just going to ask you one last question, if that's okay, Kylie.
sure.
And normally on the podcast, we ask our guest authors for their top tip for emerging writers. But in the spirit of your Wednesday segment on your Instagram, which is the Wins and Woes, which everyone loves, so do check it out if you haven't already, I thought I'd ask you, what's been your biggest win so far and your greatest woe? Is that the way to describe
I
it?
guess so. Firstly, I have to credit author Eliza Henry Jones with the Wins and Woes idea because we have a group chat in our writers group that I'm in one with her, and she used to just pop in there if she hadn't heard from us for a while. Okay, everyone, Wins and Woes. So I said to her, I just love this idea. Can I steal it for Instagram and just call it Wins and Woes Wednesday? And she's like, yeah, I don't own it. I'll go for it. Yeah, I like it because it helps you focus on, like if you're having a bad week, it also helps you focus on something that was a win. So uh do you want me to start with my woe, I guess, and then we'll end on a win?
Let's end on a win.
So the woe is the woe about for emerging writers. I would say the biggest woe for me was probably the learning curve and the reality versus the expectation.
Mm.
I think it's incredibly hard to be seen in a sea of books that are being released each month, and you have no control over when your book comes out and who it's up against when it does. You just have to hope that your readership builds over time. And even though I'd been told that and I've been told to play the long game and all of those things, I just, I don't know, I just assumed it was going to be an instant bestseller and get a movie deal.
Of course.
I
But
mean,
that
why
is the
wouldn't it?
expectation because we hear that's what you read about in the media, isn't it?
Exactly. I think we just, I mean, that was always my hope. I was just joking about it. But, some part of me is like, well,
You
it would
have
be
to.
great if it did happen.
And you have to have that hope always.
Yeah. I think what, I don't know if it's a woe, but learning to let go of the control. Like I wanted to know every step of the way how I work better with information and I work better if I know how things operate. And so much of publishing feels like it's behind a big heavy drape and we have no idea
Mm.
what's going on behind it. And it almost feels like we're not allowed to peek through, like, hi, can I have a look at how, like, I wanted to go to like, can I come and meet the sales team and, tell them so they actually have a personal, connection and, they get you to film little videos about your book and stuff, but you're not meeting the team and all like, but obviously you also don't want to be that really annoying author who's highly demanding and you're new to this. So you want
Yeah.
to make sure everyone likes you and everybody's happy with the way, but I am ambitious and I'm also older. Like I don't have time to just stuff around. I've spent years waiting to get this book published and then I don't want to see it just fall off the shelf after 3 months. But also I didn't really understand what I could do to impact that to make it better. I think my mistake was that I mistook passion and ambition for impatience.
Mm.
And I think that it's very hard to be patient when you feel everything's riding on this one moment. Like when my book comes out, what if it doesn't do as well as they'd hoped, or, so I think that woe probably continues, but I'm learning to just let go a little bit and say, well, I can't control that.
Yeah,
I'll
there's
just
so much
control
out
what
of your
I
control.
can. I'll write the best book I can and, ask for some stuff, and maybe I'll get it and maybe I won't, and do the events because I like it, not because I'm expecting anything out of it, and do some Instagram reels because it's a bit of fun, and that's pretty much all I can do. And you hope that one day, you can make this your career and make a living out of it.
And I would imagine coming to that realization and letting that go, it's a relief, isn't it? When you look at what it is that you can control, which is writing a good book, doing the events that you really enjoy, but all the other things that go on in the background. And I think because the publishers are incredibly busy, and the sales teams and all sorts of things, like they're operating on very, very tight timeframes themselves. They've got so much going on. It's quite difficult to be that person to knock on the door and ask questions if you can't.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've never been made to feel like I can't ask the question. It's just that we have, particularly as debuts, we just have this thing like, we're so lucky that we got a book deal. So many people want it. I don't want to ruin it by being that person. And yeah.
Yes, I was talking with Catherine Collette yesterday, and I said, we need a procedural instruction on how to be a debut. We need to, because I come from government where all the processes are documented in very orderly ways. That would be really handy.
It would be nice, but it's probably different for every single book. That's the problem.
Yes.
They need it. Yeah. I mean, I did once, like when I was kind of frustrated at the start, like, I don't understand how any of this works. I did like this little document for myself that was like, this is all the questions I need answered as a new author. And stuff like, what's the print run going to be?
Yeah.
And, like, where is it selling into? Is it going to Target? Is it going to Kmart? Like, you don't, unless you ask, you don't necessarily get given that information. And I guess the publisher is also trying to walk that tightrope of not wanting to upset you or disappoint you. Like they hold hope for your book too. So, and not every single book can have, massive exposure. They don't have budgets for this, so, or time or whatever. So I think, just learning to let go. I think I was worried that letting go of control meant I would care less. Like I'd linked these two ideas that I only want to know how it all works because I care. I care about the outcome of the book, and I've kind of learned I can still care about the outcome and know that it's just getting me so wound up, all these different parts of cogs in the wheel that I don't understand. So I either will learn what I can and then the rest, whatever.
That's, I think, a fantastic tip to hold for emerging writers as a way of sort of managing their own expectations about the process, but also for us debuts for next year as well. I think it's a great tip.
And then the win. I guess we should end on the win. Look, it's hard to narrow it down, but I would say that seeing your book on a shelf is a pretty big win.
Amazing.
And for me, I have no idea why, but walking through the airport and spotting my book was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This might never, ever happen to me again. I am in an airport and my book is on the shelf. And that's quite hard to get into the airport as well. Like, not every book can fit in an airport bookshop. So not everyone will get their book in an airport bookshop, and they're all different suppliers anyway. So that was a pretty huge win for me. I would say readers contacting me is also a huge win, and the beautiful writing community. I mean, I don't know much of the writing community outside of Melbourne, Victoria. So I know some in New South Wales, and they're lovely. I haven't met a writer I didn't like. They're all very, to me, just welcoming, and they commiserate and they understand how it works and they celebrate each other's wins, and it's just not like anything I've known. I don't know. It's a very supportive community, not just writers, but the bookstagrammers, librarians, and
We are so lucky, I think, to have this community, and we're lucky to have you as part of it, Kylie.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you so much for joining us on the book deal.
And I wish all of those debuts the best of luck.
Thank you. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Book Deal podcast. Please like, follow, or share this episode so we can encourage more aspiring authors.
And if you have a question you'd like us to answer or ask our guests, please find us on Instagram @thebookdeal or email us at thebookdeal@outlook.com.